As vaccination against COVID-19 gears up in Europe, so are the campaigns discrediting vaccines led by the so-called anti-vaxxers. And distrust and even opposition to vaccines is prevalent in France. Polls demonstrate the lack of confidence the French have in vaccine efficiency and safety. This distrust seems to be shared across gender, origin, and socio-economic status. This latent hesitancy is what anti-vaxxers are trying to capitalize on. Some want to gain political or social influence. Others are looking at ways to make a profit, thanks to links to health gurus, alternative medicine, and vegan industries. Who are these anti-vaxxers? What is their message? We travelled around France to hear what anti-vaxxers stand for and to fact-check their claims. This man is an anti-vaxxer. He says he has 125,000 followers on social media. He believes he has received death threats. The pharmaceutical industry, he claims, is tracking him because of his opinions.
Some of Bill Gates' vaccines have created big pandemics in certain countries like India, where he took his polio vaccine, I believe. It also gave polio to 450,000 children, and in other countries like Kenya, it even caused the mass sterilization of thousands of young women.
Do you have any proof of what you say?
In terms of proof, Bill Gates himself said in a TED conference and on other platforms that vaccination in Africa was doing a very good job at depopulating the continents.
His unfounded views are widely shared by extreme anti-vaxxers. Other recurrent conspiracy theories they use include anti-Semitic allegations and Freemasonry, Satanism, Big Capital, and Big Pharma.
There is a company called Moderna that received investment from Merck about 5 years ago, and they were already doing research on a vaccine against COVID in 2015. Are they fortune tellers? Do they know the future? I have just discovered COVID, like you, same for the coronavirus. But others have already done research on this vaccine. Pasteur has even registered patents for the coronavirus and for COVID.
The French vaccine pioneer Louis Pasteur, of course, did not register any patent for a COVID-19 vaccine, as many anti-vaxxers claim. Historian Henri Vigneault is co-author of a book on the history of anti-vaccine movements. He confirms the anti-vax movement's increased radicalization during this pandemic.
Conspiracy theorists in some respects have taken over the anti-vaccine message. Traditional classic anti-vaxxers are people worried about their health and their children's health. They don't want any chemical products injected into their children. That's their main argument. They're concerned about health. They're not concerned with making up stories about viruses or vaccines created on Mars to exterminate half the population.
Conspiracy theorists aside, Professor Vigneault gave us some insight into the historical profiles of anti-vaxxers in France.
There's a fatalist religious kind of argument. It goes something like, God has decided that you'll get sick and you can't go against the will of God. Then you have the pseudo-scientific arguments. That's people who don't believe the virus is dangerous. You also have the naturalistic approach. You must let nature do its work. And then there's the fourth argument, a political one, and that's people who are really against the state being able to force you to take any kind of medication.
One of France's most active anti-vaccine movements is coordinated from this tiny village of 120 inhabitants. Marie Verbreger is convinced that her daughter, as well as others, developed autism after being inoculated with one of France's now 11 compulsory vaccines. Science has repeatedly rebuked this, but she remains convinced.
It's a rip-off. People are slowly realising they've been duped.
Saying that vaccines are a rip-off is a serious accusation.
Yes, I know. The problem is there's no other word. We're talking about a product that does not work, a product that gives you side effects. Even if you get a vaccine, you can still develop the disease. There's no one to help you in a customer service kind of way. What would you call it?
Marie claims to have 12,000 followers on social media. She says she is optimistic about the future of her anti-vax message.
It's going to be similar to other scandals we've had in the past, like asbestos, where it took ages to admit there was a problem. It's the same for tobacco. For a long time, nobody saw any problem, and then suddenly someone said, no, wait, stop, that's enough. It'll be the same for vaccination.
The lines between committed anti-vaxxers and vaccine hesitancy are often blurred. Sociologist Jeremy Ward is an expert in the subject. He says distrust in the French public health authorities holds explanations.
The reason why there may be more hesitation in France than in other countries is that we've had more public debate about the safety of vaccines. We had the debate on the safety of the vaccine against hepatitis B at the end of the 90s. Then in 2009, we had the debate on H1N1 flu, then on the HPV infection, then on aluminium adjuvants, then on combination vaccines. The last 10 years have been really difficult.
But how can the French authorities gain credibility, oppose the anti-vax message, and persuade vaccine sceptics?
The first solution is to listen and to take people's concerns into consideration, because a first reaction might otherwise be to discard those concerns and just treat people as if they were hysterical mothers, and that's also full of sexist implications. We know that it's very important not to let fake ideas circulate without reply. All it takes is a statement to say a report on that subject is underway. And finally, as well as good communication, we need transparency. We need to provide access to the inquiries on side effects and on undesirable effects.
Efforts to reinforce transparency surrounding COVID-19 are underway. This might explain why the latest polls now show more people in France are willing to get the jab.